In the epic Mahabharata, Bhishma was the eighth son of Kuru King Shantanu, who was blessed with wish-long life and had sworn to serve the ruling Kuru king and granduncle of both the Pandavas and the Kauravas. An unparalleled archer and warrior, he once fought his own guru the mighty Parasurama and defeated him. He also handed down the Vishnu Sahasranama to Yudhisthira when he was on his deathbed in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He is the main character of the Mahabharata as it is his struggle to protect and bring unity between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Birth. The legend behind Bhishma's birth is as follows. Once the 8 Vasus visited Yudhisthira's ashram accompanied by their wives. One of the wives took a fancy to Kamadhenu, Yudhisthira's wish-bearing cow, and asked her husband Prabhasa to steal it from Yudhisthira. Prabhasa then stole the cow with the help of the others, who were all consequently cursed by Yudhisthira to be born in the world of men. Upon the Vasus appealing to Yudhisthira's mercy, the 7 Vasus who had assisted in stealing Kamadhenu had their curse mitigated such that they would be liberated from their human birth as soon as they were born. However, Prabhasa, being protagonist of the theft, was cursed to endure a longer life on the earth. The curse, however, is softened to the extent that he would be one of the most illustrious men of his time. It was this Prabhasa who took birth as Devavrata. Vow of Bhishma. Bhishma means he of the terrible oath, referring to his vow of lifelong celibacy. Originally named Devavrata, he became known as Bhishma after he took the Bhishana Pratyaga, the vow of lifelong celibacy and of service to whoever sat on the throne of his father. He took this oath so that his father, Shantanu, could marry a fisherwoman Satyavati. Satyavati's father had refused to give his daughter's hand to Shantanu on the grounds that his daughter's children would never be rulers. This made Shantanu despondent, and upon discovering the reason for his father's despondency, Devavrata sought out the girl's father and promised him that he would never stake a claim to the throne, implying that the child born to Shantanu and Satyavati would become the ruler after Shantanu. At this, Satyavati's father retorted that even if Devavrata gave up his claim to the throne, his children would still claim the throne. Devavrata then took the vow of lifelong celibacy, thus sacrificing his crown prince title and denying himself the pleasures of conjugal love. This gave him immediate recognition among the gods. His father granted him the boon of Ichchamrityu. Criticism of King Shantanu from his subjects as to why he removed Bhishma from the title of the crown prince, as he was so capable, abounded. There was worry about the nobility of Shantanu's unborn children, now promised the throne. Hearing this, Bhishma said it was his decision and his father should not be blamed, as Shantanu had never promised anything to Satyavati's father. The Prime Minister then asked who would be held responsible if the future crown prince isn't capable enough. Bhishma then took another vow that he would always see his father's image in whoever sat on the king's throne, and would thus serve him faithfully. In the process of finding a bride for his half-brother, the young king Vyatravaya, Bhishma abducted princesses Amba, Ambika and Ambalika of Kashi from the assemblage of suitors at their Swayamvara. Sowa, the ruler of Solbala, and Amba were in love. Sowa attempted to stop the abduction but was soundly beaten. Upon reaching Hastinapura, Amba confided in Bhishma that she wished to wed Salva. Bhishma then sent her back to Sowa, who, bitter from his humiliating defeat at Bhishma's hands, turned her down. Disgraced, Amba naturally approached Bhishma for marriage. He refused her, citing his oath. Enraged beyond measure, Amba vowed to avenge herself against Bhishma even if it meant being reborn over and over again. Amba sought refuge with Parasurama, who ordered Bhishma to marry Amba, telling Bhishma it was his duty. Bhishma politely refused, saying that he was ready to give up his life at the command of his teacher but not the promise that he had made. Upon the refusal, Parasurama called him for a fight at Kurukshetra. At the battlegrounds, while Bhishma was on a chariot, Parasurama was on foot. Bhishma requested Parasurama to also take a chariot and armor so that Bhishma would not have an unfair advantage. Parasurama blessed Bhishma with the power of divine vision and asked him to look again. When Bhishma looked at his guru with the divine eyesight, he saw the earth as Parasurama's chariot, the 4 Vedas as the horses, the Upanishads as the reins, Bhagwan as the charioteer and the Vedic goddesses Gayatri, Savitri, and Saraswati as his armor. Bhishma got down from the chariot and sought the blessings of Parasurama to protect his dharma, along with permission to battle against his teacher. Pleased, Parasurama blessed him and advised him to protect his vow as Parasurama himself had to fight to uphold his word as given to Amba. They fought for 23 days without conclusion, each too powerful to defeat the other. In one version of the epic, on the 23rd day of battle, Bhishma attempted to use the Prashwapastra against Parasurama. Learned in his previous birth as Prabhasa, this weapon was not known to Parasurama and would put the afflicted to sleep in the battlefield. This would have given Bhishma the victory. Before he could release it, however, a voice from the sky warned him that if he uses this weapon it would be a great insult towards his guru. Pits then appeared and obstructed the chariot of Parasurama, forbidding him from fighting any longer. The spirit of Parasurama's father, Jamadagni, and his grandfather, Rishabhika, spoke to him. "O son, never again engage in battle with Bhishma or any other Kshatriya. Heroism and courage in battle are the qualities of a Kshatriya, and study of the Vedas and the practice of austerities are the wealth of the Brahmins. Previously you took up weapons to protect the Brahmins, but this is not the case now. Let this battle with Bhishma be your last. O son of the Bhrigu race, it is not possible to defeat Bhishma." In the end, the gods showered praise on Bhishma, and he sought the blessing of Parasurama as his guru. The avatar then acknowledged that his former student was truly invincible, telling Amba, "Using even the very best of weapons I have not been able to obtain any advantage over Bhishma, that foremost of all warriors. I have exerted now to the best of my power and might. Seek the protection of Bhishma himself, thou hast no other refuge now." However, Amba refused to listen to Parasurama's advice and left, angrily declaring that she will achieve her objective by asceticism. Her predicament unchanged, did severe penance to please Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva assured her that she would be born as a woman named Shaikundini in her next birth and could be instrumental in Bhishma's death, thus satisfying her vow. Personality: Bhishma had stature and personality that in those times were fit for kings. He was a true Kshatriya as well as a disciplined ascetic, a rare combination. Like a true Kshatriya, he never unnecessarily exhibited passion and anger. A symbol of truth and duty, the benevolent Bhishma was in all senses a true human. It is unfortunate that a person as noble as Bhishma saw a life full of loneliness, frustration and sadness. But that was how Vasishtha's curse was supposed to unfold. Bhishma's human birth was destined to be marked with suffering, and that was how his life transpired right till the last moment. Even his death was very painful. But the strong as steel character, which he possessed, ensured that he never shied away from his duty, and never stopped loving those dear to him. Skills, talents, and achievements: Bhishma was not only an invincible warrior, but also highly skilled in political science. He had all the qualities and abilities fit for an excellent king. His goodness and sacrifice made him one of the greatest devotees of Lord Krishna himself. He tried his best to bring reconciliation between Pandavas and Kauravas to prevent the war. Even in the Kurukshetra war while he was the general, he tried his best to keep the war low-key by minimizing confrontation between the two camps. Even as he fell, he tried to use the opportunity to persuade both camps to put an end to the war. After the war, while on his deathbed, he gave deep and meaningful instructions to Yudhisthira on statesmanship and the duties of a king. In the Mahabharata war, Bhishma is the one who witnessed the Mahabharata completely from the beginning since the rule of Shantanu. In the great battle at Kurukshetra, Bhishma was the supreme commander of the Kaurava forces for 10 days compared to Drona's 5, Karna's 2 and Shalya's 1 the last day. He fought reluctantly on the side of the Kauravas. Nevertheless, he gave it his best effort. Each day he was killing around 10,000 soldiers of Pandavas. At one stage Arjuna's disinclination to fight him, nearly made Krishna break his vow not to raise a weapon in the war. Not even Arjuna was able to defeat Bhishma because in addition to being a peerless warrior he was blessed with choosing the moment of his death. In this war, Bhishma vowed not to kill any of the Pandavas, as he loved them, being their grandsire. Duryodhana often confronted Bhishma, alleging that he was not actually fighting for the Kaurava camp, as he wouldn't kill any Pandava but would let them kill Kauravas. But in fact, Bhishma was the strongest barrier that had protected the Kaurava camp from impending defeat. The war was thus locked in a stalemate. As the Pandavas mulled over this situation, Krishna advised them to visit Bhishma himself and request him to suggest a way out of this stalemate. Bhishma knew in his heart that the Pandavas were righteous and chaste, and that he stood as the greatest obstacle in their path to victory, so when they visited Bhishma, he told them that if faced by another gender, that is a gender which has both features of a male and female, in battle he would cease to fight and not lift weapons against her. The Pandavas were initially not agreeable to such a ploy, as by bringing such a gender to the battleground they would disgrace themselves, but Krishna suggested a clever alternative. And thus, on the next day, the 10th day of battle, Shikhandi accompanied Arjuna on the latter's chariot and they faced Bhishma, who put his bow and arrows down. He was then felled in battle by a reluctant, ashamed and tearful Arjuna, pierced by innumerable arrows. As Bhishma fell, his whole body was held above the ground by the shafts of Arjuna's arrows, which protruded from his back, and through his arms and legs. Seeing Bhishma laid on such a bed of arrows humbled even the gods, who watched from the heavens in reverence, silently blessing the mighty warrior. When the young princes of both armies gathered around him, inquiring if there was anything they could do, he told them that while his body lies on the bed of arrows above the ground, his head hangs unsupported. Hearing this, many of the princes, both the Kaurava and the Pandava, brought him pillows of silk and velvet, but he refused them. He asked Arjuna to give him a pillow fit for a warrior. Arjuna then removed 3 arrows from his quiver and placed them underneath Bhishma's head, pointed side upwards. To quench the war veteran's thirst, Arjuna shot an arrow into the earth, and a jet stream of water rose up and into Bhishma's mouth. It is said that Ganga herself rose to quench her son's thirst. Bhishma was succeeded by Drona as the commander-in-chief. Bhishma lay on the bed of arrows till the end of the battle for an interesting reason. Bhishma asked Krishna why he was suffering so much. Krishna told him it was a result of his reticence and silence towards Draupadi's Chihara, which was a Mahapapam. Bhishma failed to act to protect Draupadi at a time of dire need. Krishna further told him that the immediate time was not an auspicious time to leave the world. Thus, Bhishma, who delayed his death by his own will, now waited for the auspicious time, when the sun turns northward, to depart from the world. One of his last acts was to impart his final instructions on administration and kingcraft to Yudhisthira. Strategic formations, the Vyama. Bhishma was well versed with tactical formations of the military in those days, and only Drona, Krishna, Karna, and Arjuna could be compared to the vast knowledge that Bhishma possessed. A few formations mentioned in the epic Mahabharata are listed. Kurukshetra Vyama, the crane-shaped formation of an army. Forces are distributed to form spanning wing sides, with a formidable, penetrating center depicting the stork's head and break. Padmavila, or the Chakra Vyama, a winding, ever-rotating circular formation. Considered impenetrable during the Mahabharata age by all warriors except Arjuna, Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Krishna, Pitamah, Anuruddha and Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu had learned how to break into the formation but not how to break out of it, and is trapped inside in the Mahabharata war. Sarpa Vyama, winding snake formation. Makara Vyama, crocodile formation. Sakata Vyama, cart formation. Shuka Vyama, pig formation, death. The relation between Bhishma and Pandavas Kauravas is described as that of a grandsire. Their descendants was in the following generations: Maharaj Hastan, many generations. Kuru, Dushyant, Bharat, many generations. Shantanu, Bhishma, Chitrangada, Vyatravira, Tarashtra and Pandu and Vijaya, Pandavas and Kauravas, but practically, Bhishma and the Pandavas would be 4 generations apart, as Bhishma was himself a prince of marriageable age when his father Shantanu married Satyavati, so Chitrangada and Vyatravira were more like sons and brothers to Bhishma. When both Chitrangada and Vyatravira died heirless, Maharshi Vedvyas was called upon to revive the lineage. Then Tarashtra, Pandu and Vidura were born. the Pandavas and Kauravas were the next generation, so although addressed as grandfather, Bhishma was equivalent to their great-grandfather. When Bhishma died, he was the eldest living ancestor to the equivalent of 5 generations, as the Pandavas themselves were grandparents. Their only living heir was Parikshit, Arjuna's grandson, the son of Abhimanyu and Matsya princess Yudhisthira. As the Kauravas were losing the battle, Duryodhana approached Bhishma one night and accused him of not fighting the battle to his full strength because of his affection for the Pandavas. Bhishma, greatly angered, immediately picked up 5 golden arrows and chanted mantras declaring, "Tomorrow I will kill the Pandavas with these 5 golden arrows." Duryodhana, not having faith in Bhishma's words, asked Bhishma to give him custody of the 5 imbued golden arrows, saying that he would keep them with him and return them the next morning. Long before, when Pandavas were living in the forest, Duryodhana once came to the forest to flaunt his material opulence in contrast with the Pandavas who were living in exile due to his wicked usurpation of their kingdom, thus displaying his venom and hubris. He placed his camp on the opposite side of a pond where the Pandavas used to stay. Once, while he was taking bath in that pond, the heavenly princes, named Gandharvas, came to take a bath. Duryodhana could not tolerate this. He had a fight in which the Gandharvas captured him. On the request of Yudhisthira, Arjuna saved Duryodhana and set him free. Duryodhana was ashamed, but being a Kshatriya, he asked Arjuna what benediction or boon he would like. Arjuna replied that he would ask for the boon later when he needed it. It was during that night that Krishna reminded Arjuna of his unsatisfied boon and told him to go to Duryodhana and ask for the 5 golden arrows. When Arjuna came and asked for the 5 golden imbued arrows, Duryodhana was shocked, but knowing full well his honor and duty as a Kshatriya declared, "I will give you the 5 golden arrows. But can you please tell me who told you the 5 golden imbued arrows existed in the first place?" Arjuna replied with a smile, "Who else other than Sri Krishna could have advised me?" Afterwards, Duryodhana honorably kept his word and gave the 5 golden arrows imbued with a lifetime of austerity and power by Bhishma. Later, Duryodhana broke his customary manner and conceded to himself privately, "All of the rishis say Krishna is the supreme god, maybe they are right." Being shocked and convinced by Arjuna's knowledge of the very existence of the 5 golden arrows, Duryodhana secretly got on his knees and said a quick prayer to Krishna. Duryodhana again went to Bhishma, informing him of all that happened and requesting another 5 golden imbued arrows. To this Bhishma laughed and replied, "That is not possible, child. The will of the Lord is supreme and undeniable. I have already spent the merits of my lifetime of celibacy and austerity in those 5 arrows, a potency strong enough to end all the 5 Pandavas. However, Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, has foreseen this, knowing past, present, and future as he alone can, and has thus arranged for you to voluntarily give up the 5 golden arrows, imbued with the power and potency of my lifelong austerities. I cannot imbue another 5 arrows, having spent all of the merits of my austerities. However, tomorrow I shall fight like a lion, and this time either I will kill Arjuna or I will make Lord Krishna break his promise of not picking up any weapons during the war." On the next day there was an intense battle between Bhishma and Arjuna. Although Arjuna was very powerful, he was no match for Bhishma. Bhishma soon shot arrows which cut Arjuna's armor and then also his Gandiva bow. Arjuna was helpless before the wrath of the grandsire. As Bhishma was about to kill Arjuna with his arrows, Lord Krishna threw down the chariot reins and jumped off the chariot onto the battlefield, lifted a chariot wheel and charged Bhishma. Arjuna tried to stop Lord Krishna, but the Lord said, "In order to protect my devotee, I must break my own promise." However, this is actually a double entendre. Krishna, one who was a perfect yogi and in control of senses including anger, lifted the chariot wheel in order to respect and uphold Bhishma's promise and word, as the latter promised he would make Krishna yield weapons. Eventually, however, Arjuna convinced Krishna to return to the chariot and put down the wheel, promising to redouble his determination in the fight. All the while Bhishma stood with folded palms and tears in his eyes, awed by the beauty of the wrath of the Lord and the intense love that God bears for his friends, so great that he is willing to endure the censorship of ignorant foolish men. Later the Lord told Arjuna how he could bring down the old grandsire, through the help of Sikhandi. Using Sikhandi as a shield, Arjuna shot arrows at Bhishma, piercing his entire body. Thus, finally, Bhishma gave up the fight, focusing his life force and breath, sealing the wounds, and waiting for the auspicious moment to give up his body. It's said that once Bhishma fell down pierced with arrows he was feeling thirsty. Duryodhana went to fetch water, but Arjuna shot an arrow at the ground and water came pouring out directly into Bhishma's mouth. It's actually river goddess Ganga coming to satisfy the thirst of her son Bhishma. Legacy: Bhishma is often considered as a great example of devotion and sacrifice. His name itself is in honor to him, Bhishma, which means great, and Pitamah, which means grandfather, which combined means great-grandsire. Films: his life has been made into many films in different Indian languages. The first silent film was made in 1922. During Talkie period, the first film was made in Hindi. It was followed by Bengali film in 1942 directed by Jyotish Banerjee. Jahar Ganguly played the title role. In Telugu cinema, 2 films are made. The first film on Bhishma was made in 1944 directed by Chitrapu Narayana Rao. Jantila Gauri Navasastri played the role of Bhishma. The Life of Bhishma is made again as a highly popular Telugu film by B. A. Subbu Rao in 1962. It was titled Bhishma. The title role is played by veteran Telugu film actor N. T. Rama Rao. It was big commercial hit with some memorable songs. Music score provided by Salari Rajeswara Rao. Bhishma's character was played by Mukesh Khanna in the B. R. Chopra's Mahabharata, one of the most successful Hindi television series. Arav Chaudhary also played the role of Bhishma in Star Plus magnum opus Mahabharata. Both Khanna and Chaudhary got eternal fame and high success for portraying the character of Bhishma. Modern references: the tank T-90 main battle tank acquired from Russia for the Indian Army is named after Bhishma. See also, Vishnu Sahasranama, the 1,000 Names of the Transcendental. References. External links: persons and stories from Mahabharata, small story showing Bhishma's greatness.